For decades, the sound of the American Midwest was not the roar of a V8 engine, it was a rhythmic hammer and pop. Pop, pop. Millions of acres of prairie were broken to that exact rhythm. While competitors built complex 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder engines, the company founded by a Vermont blacksmith placed a 40-year bet on just 2. They ignored the industry. They ignored automotive trends. They built a machine that fired just twice per cycle. It was an anvil on wheels. It ran on kerosene. A farmer could fix it in the dirt with a single wrench. The 2-cylinder engine defied every rule of modern engineering. It built the most fiercely loyal customer base in agricultural history. The year is 1910. The American agricultural landscape requires power. Draft horses consume 20% of the crops they help grow. Farmers need mechanical tractors. The market is a violent, chaotic scramble. Over 150 companies build tractors. Most of them fail. Early machines weigh 10,000 pounds. They bury themselves in soft soil. They break daily. Ford introduces the Fordson in 1970. It is small, it is cheap, it captures 70% of the market. International Harvester answers with the Titan. The industry consensus solidifies. The future requires automotive-style engines. 4 cylinders become the standard. The reasoning is mechanical. More cylinders mean smoother power. Smoother power means less vibration. Less vibration keeps machines from shaking themselves apart. Deere and Company sits in Moline, Illinois. They are the undisputed kings of the plow. John Deere forged his first self-scouring steel plow in 1837. By 1910, the company sells hundreds of thousands of implements a year. But they do not sell a tractor. Management watches the Fordson dominate. They watch International Harvester build an empire. Deere needs an engine. Company president William Butterworth hesitates. He hates the early tractors. He calls them unreliable toys. Board member Joseph Dane pushes back. Dane builds an experimental all-wheel drive tractor for Deere in 1917. It features a 4-cylinder engine. It costs $1,500. It is a commercial failure. Only 100 units are built. In March 1918, Deere takes a different path. They buy the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company for $2.35 million. It is a massive sum. The prize is the Waterloo Boy tractor. It is crude. It sells for $1,050. It does not have 4 cylinders. It has 2. They sit side by side, lying flat against the frame. Deere executives despise the engine. They want to redesign it immediately. They want a multi-cylinder block. The Waterloo engineers defend their design. They argue for absolute simplicity. A farmer is not a mechanic. A farmer operates miles from a machine shop. If a 4-cylinder tractor breaks a valve, the farmer loses a week of planting. If a 2-cylinder Waterloo Boy breaks, the farmer pulls the head in the field. Deere leaves the 2-cylinder engine alone. The machine performs. Sales in 1918. 5,634 units. In 1919, 8,644 units. In 1918, 8,644 units. By 1929, 9,800 units. The Waterloo Boy is a stopgap. Deere needs a flagship machine. In 1923, they launch it. The John Deere Model D. The Model D changes American farming. It establishes a design architecture that will not change for 37 years. It is painted green. The wheels are painted yellow. It weighs 4,100 pounds. Under the steel hood sits a massive horizontal 2-cylinder engine. The flywheel is exposed on the left side of the tractor. It weighs 150 pounds. A farmer starts the tractor by grabbing the flywheel and spinning it by hand. The pistons do not move up and down. They move front to back. The displacement is 465 cubic inches. The bore is 6.5 inches. The stroke is 7 inches. Each piston is the size of a coffee can. The firing order is asymmetrical. 1/2 revolution later, the second cylinder fires, then the engine coasts for 1.5 revolutions. This creates the sound. Pop, pop, pause. Pop, pop, pause. Farmers call it the Johnny Popper. The engine is completely horizontal. The crankshaft runs side to side. The transmission gears bolt directly to it. There are no bevel gears to change the direction of power. Every gear turns in a straight line from the engine to the rear axle. This eliminates friction. It delivers maximum power to the drawbar. The Model D produces 15 horsepower at the drawbar. It produces 22 horsepower at the belt pulley. The engine turns at just 800 RPM. A standard automobile engine turns at 2000 RPM. The slow speed eliminates wear. The fuel economy changes the math of farming. In 1924, gasoline costs 20 cents a gallon. Kerosene costs 8 cents. The two-cylinder Deere is built to burn cheap kerosene. Kerosene requires high heat to vaporize. John Deere engineers route the exhaust manifold directly over the intake manifold. The exhaust heat boils the incoming kerosene. The massive two-cylinder iron block retains heat like a stove. A farmer starts the tractor on a small 2-gallon tank of gasoline. Once the block is hot, he turns a valve. The engine switches to the 28-gallon kerosene tank. It runs all day for pennies. Competitors mock the design. International harvester salesmen carry lists of reasons why two cylinders are obsolete. They tell farmers the heavy vibration will destroy their towed implements. They tell farmers the engine is a relic of the 19th century. The farmers do not care. The Model D does not break. It has half the moving parts of a 4-cylinder engine. It has half the spark plugs. It has half the valves. When dust gets past the air cleaner, a multi-cylinder engine scores its cylinder walls and dies. The John Deere just chews the dirt up and blows it out the exhaust stack. Sales explode. Deere builds the Model D for 30 consecutive years. It becomes the longest-running production tractor in history. Over 160,000 units roll off the assembly line. By 1930, Deere is no longer just a plow company. They are a tractor powerhouse. In 1934, they introduced the Model A. It is a row crop tractor. It has a narrow front end to navigate between rows of corn. It features a revolutionary hydraulic. Farmers call it the power lift. It raises and lowers implements at the end of a row. Under the hood, it features the exact same horizontal 2-cylinder layout. In 1935, they released the smaller Model B. It is scaled down for smaller farms. It costs $675. The engine remains a 2-cylinder block. It produces 16 horsepower. The formula is locked. Deere builds a machine for every size of farm. They scale the 2-cylinder engine up for the 38 horsepower Model G. They scale it down for the 14 horsepower Model H. The sound of the Johnny Popper echoes across the Great Plains. A farmer buys a Model B in 1936. He uses it for 15 years. He hands it down to his son. The son uses it for another 20 years. The block never cracks. The crankshaft never warps. The simplicity breeds fierce, uncompromising loyalty. A John Deere man will not drive a red tractor. He will not drive a blue tractor. He buys green. He buys 2 cylinders. By the late 1940s, Deere owns the fields. The company achieves $100 million in annual sales. The 2-cylinder engine is no longer just a product. It is a religion. The company operates in total alignment with its customer base. The farmer wants reliable simplicity. Deere delivers it. The agricultural landscape shifts again. World War II ends. Farms consolidate. Average acreage expands. Farmers need to cover more ground in less time. They need speed. They need more PTO power. Above all, they need horsepower. The 2-cylinder block is reaching its physical limits. You can only make the pistons so large. You can only spin the engine so fast. The vibration becomes violent. Competitors release new 6-cylinder diesel tractors. The machines are heavy. They are fast. Deere engineers look at their beloved 2-cylinder block. They realize a terrible truth. The engine that built their empire is about to destroy it. In 1849, John Deere builds the Model R. It is their first diesel tractor. It produces 43 horsepower at the drawbar. It weighs 7,600 pounds. Under the hood sits the familiar horizontal 2-cylinder engine. The scale is massive. The displacement is 416 cubic inches. The pistons are heavy. The engine shakes. At idle, the front tires literally bounce off the ground. The compression ratio required for diesel combustion is 16:1. The 2-cylinder block must withstand explosive pressure. The engineers forge a massive crankshaft. They bolt it into a cast iron tub. The flywheel alone weighs 250 pounds. When the tractor pulls a heavy load, the exhaust fires black smoke into the air. The torque is immense. The machine does not stall. But the physical toll is absolute. American farms are changing. In 1835, the average farm is 155 acres. By 1950, it is 250 acres. By 1959, it reaches 302 acres. Farmers buy larger implements. They pull 5 plows instead of 3. They need 60 horsepower. They need 80 horsepower. International Harvester releases the Farmall M. It uses a 4-cylinder overhead valve engine. It runs smoothly. It turns at 1,450 RPM. A farmer can operate a Farmall M for 10 hours and still feel his hands. A farmer operates a John Deere 2-cylinder for 10 hours and his bones ache. The vibration transfers through the steel seat. Deere executives face the truth. The 2-cylinder engine is dead. In 1953, CEO Charles Deere Wyman makes a decision. He authorizes a complete redesign. The company will build multi-cylinder engines. They call it Project 53. The development happens in total secrecy. Management issues strict directives. The sales department is kept blind. The dealers are kept blind. The customers cannot know. A John Deere farmer defines his loyalty by the 2-cylinder engine. He mocks multi-cylinder tractors. He trusts the heavy, slow-turning rhythm. If the farming community learns Deere is killing the Johnny Popper, they will abandon the brand. They will buy red tractors. Wyman isolates the engineering team. He moves them out of the Waterloo factory. He rents an empty grocery store on the outskirts of town. Workers paint the windows black. Guards stand at the doors. The engineers work inside. They do not talk to the Waterloo line workers. They design an entirely new architecture. They build 4-cylinder blocks. They build 6-cylinder blocks. They mount the engines vertically. The crankshafts run front to back. The Waterloo line produces 2-cylinder tractors every day. The engineers across town design their replacements. Deere spends 7 years on Project 53. They spend $40 million on research and development. In today's money, that is over $410 million. They transport the multi-cylinder prototypes to a secret farm in Texas in unmarked trucks. They use heavy canvas tarps. They test at night. They test in remote fields far from public roads. If a prototype breaks down, engineers cover it before the sun rises. Management shreds design documents. The code name, Project 53, remains strictly need to know. The company drafts 2 sets of marketing materials. One set promotes the outgoing 2-cylinder tractors. The other set prepares for a future that might destroy them. Deere needs time. Project 53 is not ready. The company must keep selling the 2-cylinder to fund its executioner. In 1952, they dropped the letter series. They introduced the number series. The Model A becomes the Model 50. The Model B becomes the Model 40. In 1956, they released the 20 series. The 720 diesel becomes the most fuel-efficient tractor in history. It holds the Nebraska tractor test record for 27 years. The engine remains a horizontal 2-cylinder. The farmers buy them. They praise the fuel economy. They praise the low-end torque. They do not know the factory tooling is already marked for scrap. In 1958, International Harvester sells 1.2 million more horsepower than John Deere. The market share gap widens. Age dominates the heavy tractor market. Ford dominates the light tractor market. Deere sits in the middle. The 2-cylinder engine cannot breach 80 horsepower without destroying its own chassis. In 1859, Deere introduces the 30 series. It is the final iteration. The flagship 830 produces 75 drawbar horsepower. It weighs 8,100 pounds. A 2-cylinder engine powers it. A separate 4-cylinder V4 engine acts merely as the starter motor. The design is a mechanical dead end inside the blackened grocery store. The engineers finalize the new generation of power. They build 4 models, the 1010, the 2010, the 3010. The 4010, the 4010, the 4010 produces 84 horsepower. It features a 6-cylinder vertical engine. It revs to 2,200 RPM. It features an independent PTO. It has 8 forward speeds. It has power steering. It has power brakes. The 4010 is an alien spacecraft compared to the Model D. The transmission features synchronized gears. The farmer shifts on the go. The old 2-cylinder tractors required a complete stop to change gears. The seat is a high-back armchair. It features hydraulic suspension. It absorbs the shock of the furrows. The dash panel features illuminated gauges. The steering wheel is angled for comfort. The engineers designed a closed-center hydraulic system. It runs at a constant 2,000 PI. It responds instantly. The operator uses 2 fingers to lift 3,000 pounds. The 6-cylinder engine block acts as the structural frame of the tractor. This eliminates the heavy cast iron tub. The power-to-weight ratio transforms. The 4010 pulls heavier implements faster. It consumes less fuel per acre. The 2-cylinder engine is obsolete. The horizontal layout is obsolete. The rhythmic pop, pop, pop sound is obsolete. In 1960, CEO William Hewitt prepares for the launch. He faces a terrifying corporate gamble. Deere will not phase the new tractors, and slowly they will stop production of every 2-cylinder model on a single day. They will retool the entire Waterloo factory. They will bet the entire 123-year-old company on the new generation. Hewitt must convince the dealers. Deere has 4,500 dealers in North America. These men spent 30 years selling the superiority of the 2-cylinder engine. They argued against multi-cylinder complexity. Now, Hewitt must force them to sell exactly what they mocked. The factory shutdown date arrives. The assembly lines halt. Thousands of workers wait. The factory clears out the old tooling. They install new jigs. They install new hoists. They install new testing dynos. The factory silence costs the company millions. Every day without production bleeds cash. Hewitt gambles the entire reserve fund. If the launch fails, Deere faces collapse. He plans a reveal event. He chooses Dallas, Texas. He invites 6,000 dealers, bankers, and industry executives. He charters 15 commercial jets. He reserves 34 hotels. It is the largest civilian airlift in commercial aviation history. The event will cost $2 million. The dealers pack their bags. They expect to see new 2-cylinder tractors. August 30th, 1960, the Dallas sun beats down on the Cotton Bowl. Over 6,000 dealers sit in the stands. The stadium is decorated. The gates swing open. Tractors roll onto the turf. They are painted green. The wheels are painted yellow. The sound does not. There is no pop, pop. There is a smooth, high-pitched, mechanical whine. The 4010 features a 6-cylinder diesel. It revs to 2,200 RPM. The dealers stare. The silence in the stands is absolute. Hewitt holds his breath. The entire company balance sheet rests on the next 10 minutes. The drivers throttle up. They pull massive sleds across the field. They shift gears without stopping. They lift heavy implements with a single finger. The power is undeniable. The speed is shocking. The demonstration is the sale. The sale is the demonstration. The dealers erupt. They cheer. They rush the field. They touch the smooth hoods. They sit in the suspended seats. They look at the illuminated gauges. They realize the truth. Deere did not just catch up to International Harvester. Deere leaped over them. Deere unveils 4 models that day in Dallas. They unveil the 1010, the 2010, the 3010, and the 4010. They show new implements. They show a complete corporate reinvention in a single afternoon. The event costs $2 million. It generates $20 million in dealer orders before the sun sets. The 4010 hits the market. It costs $5,500. Farmers buy it. The loyalty holds. The John Deere man trades his 2-cylinder Model G for a 6-cylinder 4010. He feels the smooth power. He finishes his plowing in half the time. His back does not ache. He does not look back. The 4010 becomes the most popular tractor of its era. Deere sells 42,000 units in 3 years. In 1963, John Deere surpasses International Harvester. They become the largest manufacturer of agricultural equipment in the world. They hold that position today. The 2-cylinder era is over. The factory scraps the old casting molds. They melt down the old iron. The assembly line never builds a horizontal engine again. The technology fades. Between Nini 23 and 1960, John Deere built over 1.2 million 2-cylinder tractors. Over half of them still exist. They sit in sheds in Nebraska. They sit in barns in Ohio. They sit under tarps in Saskatchewan. They survive because they were overbuilt. The engineers in Waterloo did not design to a price point. They designed to a failure point. Then they doubled the thickness of the iron. The clearance tolerances in a 2-cylinder engine are massive. A modern engine seizes if a bearing loses 1/1000th of an inch. A John Deere 2-cylinder runs with a 1/4 inch of play in the connecting rod. It knocks, it clanks, it keeps running. It runs on kerosene, It runs on heating oil. It runs on stale gasoline. The 2-cylinder eliminated itself. When John Deere transitioned to multi-cylinder engines, they lost something profound. They gained the market, but they lost the absolute mechanical simplicity that built their name. The 4010 requires a trained technician. The 4010 requires specialized gauges. A modern 9R requires a laptop. Today, John Deere builds autonomous tractors. They build 15-ton machines with radar. They build combines that yield data to satellites. A modern 9R series tractor produces 640 horsepower. It costs over $600,000. It is a rolling supercomputer. You cannot fix it with a wrench. You cannot fix it in the dirt. A massive collector market emerged. The sons and grandsons of the two-cylinder generation buy back the past. They hunt in barns. They hunt in overgrown fence rows. They find rusted blocks of iron. They drag them home. They pour diesel fuel into the cylinders. They let them soak. They break them loose. A fully restored 1938 Model D commands $25,000 at auction. A pristine, neat 58 Model 730 diesel commands $45,000. Collectors do not buy them to farm. They buy them to preserve a feeling. They buy them to hear the sound. Every summer, thousands of men gather at antique tractor shows across the Midwest. They line up their green and yellow machines. They spin the heavy flywheels. The engines catch. The massive pistons move front to back. The exhaust stacks spit black smoke. The ground vibrates. The air fills with the smell of unburned kerosene and heavy grease. The rhythmic, hammering pop of the American Midwest ended not with a mechanical failure, but with a quiet, calculated execution by the very engineers who forged it. If you found this documentary valuable, please like the video and subscribe to the channel only if you think it earned it.